Yes, yes, ma'am. Here you go. You got a mic right here.
All right, thank you. My main interest is the one the gentleman just raised, but I have another kind of question for you. Brock, I want to know what you're going to do for the daughters and the wives of the farmers. And you said you were willing to listen.
Yes,
so
please.
I'm going to just talk a little bit about
Good.
it.
I'll even take a seat.
Well, that's all right.
Go ahead.
As you've already observed, there are women who work in town to help meet the family expenses. And you see a lot of grandmothers here and mothers. And some of them work at least part-time, if not whole-time. And their daughters are probably working full-time. That's why they're not here this afternoon. And I want to tell you, I'm not a wife. I'm a farmer's daughter from Nebraska. And my dad was a small farmer, but they cared about education. So after I graduated from Nebraska Wesleyan, I went to your school, Columbia. And I studied journalism, the Graduate School of Journalism. And that's what took me to Washington for 9 years. And I have a little book here I'm going to pass along to you later that I've just written about that. And it was journalism that brought me to Indiana because I worked for a pharmaceutical company.
Oh.
Right. but it was...
That's okay. All right. But so we'll kind of skip over that. But
it was Miles Laboratories. And when I came here in 1972, it was a family company that made Alka-Seltzer and vitamins and lots of other things.
Right.
I never had to compromise my integrity.
I know you didn't.
Now, what I want to tell you is when I came, women were making about 69 cents to every man's dollar. Well, we're now up to 73, would you believe? 4 cents more in 25 years. And have you given a thought to what you can do to help close that gap?
Absolutely. Well, look, I was raised by a single mom, and I remember how hard it was for her to make ends meet. Raising kids, she was going to school part-time and working. And my grandmother, actually, she started off, she never graduated from college, but she went to work as a secretary, and she was so sharp that she ended up as vice president of this bank. So she was actually probably the main breadwinner in our family. So I'm a big believer in, and I'm married a really strong woman, and I'm raising 2 strong daughters. So my attitude is that any pay that a man gets, women should get for the same work. That's the bottom line. And in fact, we just had a vote last week because there was a Supreme Court case where, and this is an example of the unfairness that we've been seeing under the Bush administration. What happened was that a woman who had been working there for years at a company found out that for many years she had been paid less than her male counterparts for doing the same job. She filed for discrimination suit, and it turned out that according to the statute, she had to file within a certain number of years after a certain number of days, 180 days. And she tried to make the point, well, I didn't find out about it until just recently, so the 180 days shouldn't count against me being able to go back and recover for all this other pay discrimination. The Supreme Court said, nope, sorry, you're cut off from your lawsuit. And we tried to overturn it in Congress, and the Republicans wouldn't go along with it because the business lobbies lobbied against it. My point is this. We should have just a simple principle. Our daughters should be treated the same as our sons. If they're doing certain kind of work, then they should be getting paid the same amount. There's nothing radical about that. Now, the only other thing I'll mention is some of the differential in pay for women actually has to do with the fact that they are still carrying more of the load when it comes to child rearing, and they're not getting enough support to do it. So if If there's a child care problem, oftentimes it's the mother who's having to deal with it as opposed to the father, which means that maybe she's having to leave her job earlier or she's having to work part-time, which puts her on a different career path. The more we can give families help on things like the Family Medical Leave Act so that it actually can be used by more people, and one of the big problems right now is there's no, it's unpaid leave, so a lot of people just can't afford to take it. But the more we can expand those kinds of programs, the better we improve child care facilities and subsidies and give a child tax credit that is worth more. Those kinds of measures to help families really make a big difference. And the person who educates me about this all the time is, of course, Michelle. Because I'm gone all the time. And she makes the point, that when she had her own job, but if the girls got sick, she's the one who had to leave her job or juggle her schedule or deal with these issues. If our babysitter quit, she's the one who's having to scramble around trying to find a replacement. And so that's part of the reason why you still see some pay differential in addition to discrimination, and that's something that we've got to deal with. All right.